Hey guys, it's me, Carly, coming at you with another video. And today I want to talk about Descendants. Now, I made a video on this a while back, a few years ago actually. My hair wasn't ponytail long, but that's not important. And I discussed the good things about Descendants, like how there is a bunch of representation and the cast is pretty diverse. But now I want to discuss the issues with it. For example, one issue I have with it is, the reason I'm making this video is one, because my boyfriend really wanted to see this video, me do a video on the problems with Descendants, because he's a Wicked Merman, by the way. He really does not like the Descendants movies. He thinks it's like one of the worst movies he's ever seen. And one of the only redeeming qualities about it is Uma. Because she's played by China Anne McClain, and China Anne McClain is awesome, and we love China. And because of Musical Hell's video that he sent me. Now, I'm going to start with the minor problems, because those aren't even because they're minor and they're the least of the franchise's problems. But let's get started, shall we? So let's start off with the couples from Descendants. Yeah, all the couples from Descendants are, well, not all of them, but a majority of them are boring. I mean, Chad and Audrey. Audrey is a freaking babe. And I'm going to be probably saying that a lot. Chad is a stupid character. Chad is Prince Charming and Cinderella's son. First, he's a charismatic, he's a charismatic douchebag. And Audrey's a classist snob, but Audrey's at least smart, and I think she has some redeeming qualities, at least in the cartoons, is what I've seen. But why is she going out with Chad? I think she deserves slightly better. So yeah. Chad is cute, by the way. But then Chad in the second movie becomes a babbling idiot, and he grows his hair really long, and he just becomes really stupid, which he does a complete 180 of who he's supposed to be, I guess. And he's a real dickhead in the books, too. Second couple, Doug and Evie. Again, Evie is sweet, kind, and caring, and is a total babe, and she's dating Doug, who, by the way, is Dopey's son, who is a dwarf, and I don't understand why he's not part dwarf, which is weird. So who the heck's his mom? And yeah, he's so clingy, like, oh, Evie, I was so worried about you. Are you cheating on me? Do you have another boyfriend? Do you like another guy? It's like, no. She's doing some secret business, and yeah, maybe he should have communicated. And she likes you, which I don't know why, because you're clingy. And she's a babe, and I kind of ship her with Ben, or Audrey, or someone who isn't Doug, because all the straight couples are so boring, and he is a snooze fest. Now, the most annoying couple, the couple that annoys me the most is the lead couple, Mal and Ben. How cliche can you get? Popular, perfect, handsome white boy who's like too perfect, goody two-shoes boy falls for the rebellious bad girl. Is that a cliche or what? And she drugged him. And she faces no backlash, she faces no consequences, and she just is so... She just gets away with a lot of things, like drugging him, and then, which, when I say drug, I mean spell, but in the magical sense, putting a spell on someone is pretty much the same as drugging them, because you're manipulating their mind. And he knew he had a spell put on him the moment he entered the enchanted lake, and it washed away. And even though he wasn't faking his feelings, he couldn't kindly enough pull his girlfriend to this side, which is Audrey, even though they're dating for political purposes. I don't know why they're dating, or they were, and suddenly she starts to date Chad. He couldn't even pull Audrey to the side and say, hey, I don't have feelings for you this way. I have feelings for someone else. Sorry. But instead, she gets dumped. He dumps her in front of the whole school. And we're all just supposed to be okay with that. Like, I'm not a huge fan of Audrey because she's a classist snob. But that doesn't mean she deserved to get dumped in front of the whole school. And she apparently reforms at the end. And the actress, Audrey, wasn't even in the second movie, because the actress who plays her is doing Charmed, the reboot of Charmed, which doesn't look interesting, but anyways. But she comes back, she'll be back in the third movie, and she's apparently evil. And how do we know this? Her hair is colored pink and purple, and that normally signifies evil, because the VKs wear vibrant colors and have their hair unnatural. Not human colors, not brown, not blonde. So, yeah, that's how you know she's evil. I don't know what they're gonna do with that, but... Now, for characters, Ben is a Gary Stu. Doug is boring. Chad is a complete 180 of who he should have been. It's like, he has a total personality switch or whatever. And Mal, I felt like she digressed. I mean, her goal was to live up to her mom, Maleficent, who, I'm sorry, Kristen Chenoweth, is horribly cast, and is not a very convincing Maleficent. She's like little, I don't even think she would scare a little kid. She's more cartoony, evil type, and she's not even that scary. And Maleficent literally means malicious devil. But anyway, back to Mal. She wants to steal the wand, but then she gets closer to the Auradon kids. And she's fighting between good and evil, and she's like, I choose love! Love is good! I pick goodness over evil! But then in the second movie, she misses being bad. She misses being, she misses wreaking havoc and terrorizing people, which I don't know why you'd miss that. And she asks Carlos, don't you just ever miss terrorizing people and just making a mess of things? I don't know if those are the exact words, but that's basically what she asks him. And he's like, well, considering as someone who was on the receiving end of that, no, I don't. So, when things start to get hard, which is why I think Mel is not queen material, Evie is, she runs back to the Isle. Oh, in the beginning of the second movie, Mel has blonde hair with purple tips, and she's trying to blend in with the Auradon kids, and then she goes back to the Isle. We meet Dizzy, who is just so adorably happy. It's awesome. And she gets her life back. Not her life. She gets her old self back. So now she's back to purple hair, an updated costume of the one she had before. This hair is lighter purple. in the second movie than it is in the first movie, and then she has like dark blue undertones in the third movie. So she comes back to the Isle, visits Uma. Uma and her are enemies, and for some reason, because Mal apparently made her life a living hell. This is another reason she's on my characters that exude white privilege list, because everyone feels sorry for her, and everyone just feels so bad because she's facing the pressure of being a queen, and she's basically cheating her way through it, and trying to get Ben to accept her, and Ben's not really accepting of the magic. And I don't know, Mel is an okay character, but she's a hypocrite. And part of the reason a big reason she's on my my white privilege list, characters that exude white privilege list, is because of how she drugs Ben, and she's like, oh, it's okay, she was in love with him this whole time, she couldn't trust it would happen on its own. But when Uma does it, Uma is pretty much ripped to shreds. And I'm not saying that drugging him is right. I'm not saying that drugging, which isn't right. I'm just saying that one character gets criticized and the other one doesn't as much. And it just really bugs me. And Uma is much scarier than Maleficent. Because Kristen Chenoweth is an awful Maleficent. Sorry, but yeah, she's not good. And so the end of the first movie, she shrinks to the size of a lizard. What else? Carlos and Jay are pretty meh characters. I mean, they're good characters, but they're not anything special. Evie and Mal are great friends, and I love their friendship. I really love Uma, because Uma's a fantastic leader. I mean, she's commanding a whole crew of people, and they all respect her. And Harry basically worships at her feet, even though their relationship would be unhealthy. But yeah. But I really like them because of the sexual tension and the chemistry they have. Now on to another minor issue. The costuming. The costuming is cheap leather, guys. I mean, seriously, it is not all that good, even though Uma's look gets better in the third movie. Uma probably hands down has my favorite look. But all the costumes, or a majority of the costumes, they look better in animation than they do live action, because they're cheap leather, and I get enough of that from the CW. They're super vibrant and colorful, which I'm not complaining. I like vibrant colors. But they just look really tacky and cheap. And the sets look kind of like something a high schooler would put up. But it looks like something a high schooler would put up in a high school play instead of a production. And I know it's Disney, and I know it's gonna look cheap. And it's a musical because it's directed by Kenny Ortega, but it's really not that good. And it's just, it's just really tacky looking. So, that's a minor issue. Now on to the major issues. My major issues with this franchise, or with Descendants, are the characters of Adam / the Beast and Belle being hesitant to give the villain's kids second chances. Even though Belle, of all people, should be on Ben's side with giving people second chances. Because Belle was willing to give the Beast a second chance. The Beast had to have a second chance at being good and being reformed to a selfless person. So why are the villain's kids not worthy of a second chance? Because they're villain kids? I mean, I thought we weren't supposed to be defined by our parents' mistakes, which this movie does not do a good job of. Because Audrey and Mal meet, and they're frenemies, enemies right off the bat because of who their parents are. And Audrey is a classist snob, but Audrey is not real trusting of Mal because of who their parent. Because her mom's Aurora and Mal's mom is Maleficent, and it's just... I thought we weren't supposed to be defined by our parents' mistakes, and yet we're being defined by our parents' mistakes. And we can't help who our parents are. And speaking of the parents of a majority of the villain kids, where are the missing parents? Like, where is Carlos's dad, Mal's dad, Evie's dad, Jay's mom, Uma's dad? Who are these kids? Where are the kids' other parents? And, if these villains were able to have children, does that mean it must have meant some of the villains must have been capable of good and had some good inside them. And they loved their children. They loved somebody at one point. Or, now, I might be jumping to conclusions and I'm going to be thinking the worst of the worst. Were some of the villain kids, dare I say it, rape babies? That's what I want to know. Because we don't know where their first parent, we don't know where their other parent is. And were they even capable of love at one point? Because I have so many questions about the other parents. Because some people say that Mal's father is Hades, but in the book I read, her father is actually human. So it wouldn't make sense for Hades to be her father, because Hades is a demigod of hell. So that I have a question of. I don't think Hades was cast really well, because Hades is not that scary. And I know they have to water down the villains for the children's sake, but still, I question how much of these villains were evil. And if they would actually taken to sequences, if they taken the sequences of other movies like the Cinderella franchise into account, they would know that Anastasia actually got a redemption arc. So she's actually one of the good people now. So why? Where are the parents? Because part of me is thinking that some of these are rape babies. And I'm not trying to make light of this situation. I'm sorry if I'm offending anyone. But you gotta wonder, right? And Adam and Belle are the world's biggest hypocrites of not giving second chances, even though Beauty and the Beast was basically all about second chances. So yeah. Another big issue, it was the Beast's idea to encompass all the lands, the Disneylands, not Disneylands, all the characters into one mashup. And he brought in the book, it says, he brought the villains back to life. I don't know if it says this in the book. I haven't read in a while. To suffer a worse fate than death. And all of the kids, in the book, it says the kids had to eat moldy food. Why? All the kids, they'd have to eat Oridon's leftovers. They would have to eat moldy bread, rotten bananas, rotten fruit, rotten produce, and basically whatever was left. And I'm like, how? That's not healthy. How are these kids not sick and living off fucking moldy bread, sorry for swearing, and rotten fruit? And in the book, it says that Maleficent suffers phantom pain from when Prince Philip stabbed and killed her. So you brought a character back to life just to make them... You brought these villains back to life just to make them suffer a worse fate than death. And on top of that, Maleficent's got to suffer some phantom pain. So does that mean Ursula also suffers phantom pain from when Prince Eric, stabbed her with a broken off spear? I don't know what it is that he stabbed her with, but it was a broken piece. It was a long stick that was sharded and broken off, and he stabbed her. He stabbed Ursula into a rock in her stomach. So does she suffer phantom pain? And if Descendants is all about second chances for the VKs, why do the VKs have to suffer just because their parents were evil? Don't they get a choice? And also, the line for the good guys and the bad guys don't seem to be gray. There's no gray areas. It's all just black and white. But yet, bringing someone back to life just to suffer a worse fate than death, how does that make you a good person? How does that make you a good guy? That makes you just as bad, if not worse, than the good guy, or the bad guys, excuse me. So I don't really get that at all. Yeah, I'm probably gonna I'm about to bring race into this, but why are Mel's two arch enemies angry brown women? One's half black and half white, and the other one is fully black, which contributes to the angry black woman stereotype. Are they really angry, or are they just not kissing Mel's feet? And are they just fed up with their situation? Because Uma's just fed up with her situation and having to eat moldy bread. And eating other things, like rotten produce, although she runs a successful fish shop. But why does she have to suffer? I don't get it. And you put up this barrier to keep the villains out, but yet why do you not have another place where the villains could be treated more humanely? And I'm not saying they have to be treated like with royalty, but it kind of reminds me of how some prisons treat their prisoners. Like, yeah, they're locked up, they did bad things, they give them a chance to reform. Because I don't like this line of good and being good is one way and being bad is one way. It's like being good or bad is a choice, and it takes conscious effort to be a decent person. It takes effort to be the person you want to be. And people are much more complex than that. So for Descendants to paint bad and good in a black and white box, I'm just, no. It's gray. Bad and good are gray areas. Because no one is all good and no one is all bad. We're a mixture of both. But being one way, but being a certain way. Ugh. I don't know how I want to word this. Being bad is a choice and being good is a choice. Everyone has good and bad inside them, but saying that these villains are only bad is harmful. And these good guys are not really worth rooting for. And speaking of parents and the good guys, sorry, I keep jumping around. I jump around a lot. Why does Fairy Godmother have a daughter? I mean, she doesn't even have a fucking name. At least Aurora's fairies, whose names I tend to forget, like Fauna, and I forget which fairy that is. And that's the only fairy name I remember. The Fairy Godmother doesn't even have a name. She's like 1,000 years old. Why is she suddenly young? Did she like put a spell on herself so she could have a daughter of her own? Did she younganize or euthanize? Not euthanasia, but like youth. Youthify her uterus so she can have a baby? I mean, why does she even have a daughter? And how are these kids even the same age as all the other kids? Like, did they all get pregnant at the same time? It's like, I have so many questions. And somebody pointed out that Cruella should not be in this universe because she lives in London, so how she get roped into this, I don't know. But the Descendants franchise is kind of all over the place. It's a hot mess. And I feel like it could be very compelling. But because of how it's watered down a lot, it's not that good. As for the cartoon, it's okay. The cartoon is a little more loyal to the books. But can I just say, something that really irritates me about the cartoons, and it really has nothing to do with characters, is the whitewashing. I mean, Audrey is clearly a brown woman, like tan, beige, like me, in live action, but they whitewashed her and made her look like a white girl in Descendants. Lonnie looks kind of okay. Who else? Oh yeah, Freddie. Played by China Anne McClain in the first season of Descendants, and then Lauren in the second season. Freddie looks like a biracial girl in the cartoon, but in live action, when they're at the purple carpet event or whatever, she's a full-on black girl. It's Lauren McClain dressed as her, but Freddie looks white, and they watered down a majority of the characters of color, and I do not like that. It looks awful, and I'm sick of it. Sorry, I just had to get that out of my system. Anyways, those are my thoughts on the Descendants franchise. Or my newly updated thoughts, and I keep licking my teeth, sorry. Damn it, stop it, Curly. So if you like that video, like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment down below, and have a good one.